And welcome to my kitchen. My name is Ridley, and this is my kitchen, how I found it. We are continuing our journey into India today with a really interesting dish, which is actually very simply called fish curry with coconut. It's from the Kerala area of India, which is along the coastal region, so lots and lots of fish available. And this dish sort of came up from the local fishermen just using the bounty of the sea to make a dish out of what they've got. And then they really adopted some of the incoming flavors that were coming from overseas, such as coconut, that allowed them to temper out the dish a little bit. And that's sort of what makes this a more unique flavor profile, is that it has the spices, but then it's tempered a little bit with some coconut. So what we're gonna do in this one is you need some kind of firm fleshed fish. In this case, I chose tilapia, but I've been told that sardines are a really, really good and traditional usage or fish to use for this. I was not able to find one, but I found some tilapia, and I just have it cut up into about 1-inch pieces. I've seen this prepared in 2 different ways. So one is you can put it to fillets, like I did right here, and then cut them down to size. I also saw where you can cut it into a steak. So you'll take the whole fish, and then you will cut along its side long, about 1 inch long on each piece. And that will give you sort of a cross section of fish, and you can use that as well. But we've got our tilapia here, and then what we're gonna be doing is we're going to be adding some aromatics to it. In this case, it's some ginger, some shallots, some garlic, and then also I've added a little bit of serrano pepper. Now all this is gonna be mixed together. You can use a food processor or you can chop it up by hand. I'm gonna be throwing it in a quick food processor just to get it down a little bit more finely, but it definitely will work however you need it. And then we are going to be mixing that with the coconut. Now this is raw coconut, and specifically you want to use a mature brown coconut. So I found young coconuts first, but they are not really great for grating and getting into this texture, and they will have a very different effect on the flavor and texture of the dish. So mature coconut, and then we're going to be mixing that in with a tiny bit of some coriander seeds. And then it's harder to see, but right over here, I've got a little tiny bit of fenugreek seeds. And those are a very, very important flavor here. So we've got fenugreek in the coconut, and then we also have a little bit of fenugreek and mustard seed, along with some cumin that we're gonna add into the top to add a spice layer. Now, as that's all mixed together, we're going to mix in some tomatoes to give it a little bit of zing, some tartness or some acidity. And then another layer of spices. So this one we're going to have some cumin, or no, this is coriander, this is some chili powder, and that's some turmeric. And then all of that is going to be mixed in with a really interesting ingredient, which this is tamarind paste. Now, a lot of the recipes that I found actually say that you want to find I think it's called a Malabar tamarind. It's a specific type of tamarind that is different from the ones that I'm familiar with from, say, Mexican grocers. And so it is more of like an apple in shape, and oftentimes it has more of a smoky flavor. I wasn't able to find those, but I was able to find this tamarind puree, which was an Indian tamarind puree, so I'm hoping that this is going to have more of that smoky flavor to it. If you do get a chance to order them from Amazon, I think you can get the proper version of tamarind, soak it in some water, and then that's how you would use the flavor for this dish. Aside from that, you've got a little bit of tanginess from the tamarind. We've got the spice over here. It's gonna mellow it out with the coconut. And then the final little bit here is a bit of an improvisation for us. So I was trying to find what's called curry leaves, and unfortunately none of my stores nearby had them on hand. But the flavor that I was told is that it's kind of like basil with lime zest. So I have some fresh basil right here, but I also found this really interesting plant called lime basil. And so lime basil has a very citrusy kick to it and almost like a touch of mint, but it's at the same time from the basil family. So I mixed in a couple of the lime basil leaves, which are these smaller ones, along with these larger fresh basil leaves, and I'm hoping that that will give us a rough approximation of the curry leaves that we were looking for. So the prep is pretty much, once again, getting these ingredients, measuring them out. A lot of this you can get exactly in this format. You can get crushed tomatoes, all of the spices came ground. You can easily grab a pre-filleted tilapia and just cut it out like this, or you can grab a whole one and cut it into the steak. So there's a lot of options here, but prep work-wise is not terribly difficult on this one. A little bit of fiddly things, but easy to put together. So I have everything ready for us. We are going to, like I said, be mixing a couple of those ingredients. So I brought over my little mixer here so that we can get that paste together. And then we're going to run over to the stove, and it's just some layering of ingredients and flavors, similar to the butter chicken, but very different flavors. So So like I was saying, for this, we don't necessarily need to have everything pre-chopped. I just did some chopping on it to make it a little easier to fit in here. Also, as a note, this is a serrano pepper that I'm using, but even though it's not one of the spicier peppers, I touched my eyes and we had to take about a 15-minute break while I slowly recovered. Mucous membranes can definitely get a little spicy. Okay, so with these ones here, we do not want this to be a paste. So I'm going to just do a couple of pulses on it, and I'm going to try and get it to more of like a rough chopped sort of feel. Give it a little shake for the larger pieces to get down. All right. So we now have some chopped pieces in here, but once again, it's not a paste, and we don't have any large chunks or anything. So that's going to be really easy for us to then mix into our coconut base. And I should have brought a spoon. And so this is going to get all mixed together, and we're going to be able to cook it down in the pan, get rid of the rawness of all of the onions, tame down a little bit of that heat from the garlic, get some of that spice from the ginger out of it, and then we can start layering in the spices and the tomatoes. So with that one off to the side, I am also going to just grind up, like I said, a little bit of the coriander seeds and some fenugreek. I'm going to mix that in as well, but that is all we need to do over here. So next I will see you over in the stove, and it's just going to be putting everything in layers. Okay, so we're going to be taking our coriander seeds, fenugreek, and I don't need this to be thoroughly ground. I don't need it to be an entire powder, but we just want to make sure that we're breaking in to those seeds and getting the flavor out. And now that I'm smelling them, it's also important to note that the coriander was here. This is mustard seed. So, mustard seed and fenugreek. I'll see if Bruce can maybe put that into a subtitle earlier when I messed it up. All right. So this is going to be sort of our main flavor base. We're going to cook this up a little bit, get all of the ingredients out of their raw state. Several recipes just said cook until the raw smell goes away. So we're going to see when that is. I will see you back here, and we'll make some fish curry. Okay, we are going to start with some of our coconut oil here. And this is just a nice neutral oil to put in here. If you get unrefined coconut oil, it will have a much stronger coconut flavor. So just be aware that depending on if you get the refined or unrefined, it will determine how much coconut flavor ends up in here. I'm just gonna let this heat up so that it can coat the entire bottom of the pan, and then we're going to use that to cook down this raw veggie aromatics mixture that we've got going on. So give it just a second or so to heat up. I did actually get one extra little large chunk of ginger that I'm going to pull out, but everything else is looking like a nice chop. And I'm just going to give this a nice little mix. It's going to come up to temperature because we want this to, once again, cook away all of that sort of raw flavor that's going to be in these. All of these ingredients transform a lot when cooked. So from going from raw garlic to cooked, raw ginger to cooked, major, major differences. So I definitely see why this is an important step. And then while this is toasting, we're also going to add that little bit of the fenugreek and the cumin seeds. And let those toast up alongside it. And then we are going to let this cook for probably about 4 or 5 minutes. This is just to, once again, soften the onions down a little bit. You don't want them to be brown, you don't want them to caramelize, but you want to get rid of all that raw flavor. So I am going to try and kind of spread this out across the bottom to get a more even cook through and to speed everything up. We'll give it a few minutes. And then from there, we're just going to add the tomatoes on, a few more spices, and again, this is going to be just layering those flavors a little bit at a time so that we can really bring all of it together, hopefully to something super tasty. So this has been going for 3, maybe just about 4 minutes now, and the sharpness of the onion has definitely toned down a whole lot. Or I guess of the shallot. I don't have any onions in here, so all the sharpness of the onion is gone. But the shallots have toned down a bit, and there's a really nice sort of fresh spice from the serrano, and then the ginger is adding a little bit of warmth to the background, but nothing is particularly overpowering, and nothing is smelling particularly raw anymore. So I think we're at a good point now where we can add the tomatoes. Now this is crushed tomatoes. You can also buy whole tomato and crush it like we did in a couple of other recipes. But there's no reason to not just use tomato when you've got tomato available. So mix that in there. Then we have the coriander, the turmeric, and the chili powder. So we're going to put all of those in together as well. And I am going to top a little bit of salt onto here as well, just so I can kind of season as I go. I don't want to add all of the salt at the end, but I also don't want it to be overwhelmingly salty. Ooh, but that smells really, really good. All right. Then I have the tamarind paste. Now, one thing that's missing from this process because we didn't have the full tamarinds is that I was supposed to soak them in water and then use that water along with the tamarinds to mix back into here. So I am going to supplement with a little bit of water here. This is going to help deglaze the pan, and it's also going to add the extra liquid needed to get all of this to form together into a really nice curry. So there we go. We're able to pull the flavor off of the bottom of the pots. We're going to bring this back up to a boil. And then once it hits a boil, I am going to let it cook for a couple more minutes to meld these ingredients together. And then we're going to add the fish in and let that just essentially cook the fish. And at that point, we have completed the curry. So I'm going to let this come up to a really quick boil, drop the temperature down just a touch, and let it all fuse together. So this has been cooking for closer to 7 minutes now. We actually let it go a little bit longer. I just wanted to give these tomatoes enough time to really soften up. We've reduced down a little bit of the liquid that was in there, and we've got a really rich, strong scent coming on, which I'm very excited for. So now, the last step is just to add the fish and cook it until the fish is done. I'm not super familiar with fish, so I'm gonna do my best here, but it shouldn't take too long. I'm thinking maybe 4 minutes or so. So, gonna throw these in here real quick, try and get them situated into the sauce without breaking them up too much, and we will go from there. All right, that's a very intense scent. I'm interested to know what has gone on in this pot. So we've let this cook for another 5 minutes. I'm going to turn off the heat there, and then I am going to add the basil and the lime basil from before, and I'm just going to tear this up with my hands, toss it straight into the pot, and then let that infuse a little bit while I get some rice out of our rice cooker. But once again, get these in, give a little slight mix, and I'm hoping that this is going to get that little bit of savory that's supposed to be from the cumin, or from the curry leaves, out of the basil, and then that citrus that people use the lime zest for. Hopefully the lime basil is going to count for that one. So I am going to just put this off the heat for a couple minutes while the rice finishes cooking, and then plate it up and time to try it. So theoretically this should be a nice spice to the flavor, but then mellowed out with a little bit of that coconut and have sort of a smoothness to it. So we'll see. All right, so time to give it a try. Now, as a really important note for this recipe, as with just about any other curry that you can find, there are going to be dozens upon dozens, if not hundreds, of variations. Household to household could have different traditional recipes for it. So a main thing in this one is that some of the recipes will use the raw grated coconut like we did, and some of them will use coconut milk, which will result in more of a smooth sauce as opposed to this textured one. So texturally speaking, a very important thing to note. Now, I specifically for this one tried to pick a medium recipe because some of them used red chilies on top of green chilies on top of chili powder. Lots of spice, lots of layers.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure it would be delicious, but I know that both of us don't necessarily go towards the high spice side of things.
Right, I prefer flavor in my food.
Yeah, I enjoy spicy, I do, but I also, I try to make it accessible for people who don't like spicy, and I know some curries can go over the top. So,
let's give it a shot.
Theoretically, should be in the middle.
I'm okay with that.
All right, so... Now, the tilapia is skin on, but you should be able to eat that.
I am just going straight through it, yeah. Here we go.
Okay. It immediately gets me in the curry zone. I've got the spice to it.
Yeah.
I'm not picking up as much of the tamarind as I thought I would.
Like
That kind of like tangy...
Yeah, like none of that, really. It had to have infused pretty well in here.
Yeah. And let me get a nice bite with the tilapia. I mean, the fish is well cooked. So it's a great recipe for easily cooking some fish. It came together pretty easily as well, so it wasn't a whole lot of work. It's good. But I don't think I like it as much as even the butter chicken from last week.
Not even kind of.
Okay, but that's not fair. You don't like fish overall.
I'm not a huge fan of fish.
The butter chicken was so good.
There are a few exceptions to that. This isn't really one of them. It's fine. It's fish. So I'm fine with it.
And the flavors work.
Yeah, but it's also got brown rice, which is playing a bigger role than I would like it to, because I don't really care for brown rice.
Okay.
So.
And the rice does add that kind of firmer texture underneath. And I can see it with the fluffy rice. Would be really good.
Yeah, the curry itself, though, is not bad. It's fine.
The coconut,
like in a good way. Like
has a little bite to it.
Yeah, I like this more than some of our other dishes that I haven't been fond of.
Okay. Yeah.
Like this is definitely somewhere in the mid-range to where like this is acceptable. I would eat this.
Also, I can definitely see how if I had... So, to give you an idea, the amount of chili I put into this, some recipes would say use 2 green chilies and 2 red chilies and 2 tablespoons of chili powder. This has half of the half of the green chilies, half of the chili powder, and it didn't include the red chilies, and it still definitely has noticeable heat. So if you like spice, absolutely, you could go even further on this one. But I think that this is a good middle point. The coconut sort of takes the edge off. It's not creamy necessarily, but it's also not piquant and punchy and sharp.
Right. This is it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's not great, but it's good.
Yeah. Oh. I am happy to say, though, that this is another way of dealing with fish that is easy to cook, but also comes out with really good flavor. It doesn't taste fishy in any way, shape, or form. Like, zero.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And when you take a bite of the tilapia, it doesn't taste like nothing. Like, it has flavor to it, but it doesn't have that fishiness.
Mm. The curry, as curry does a lot of work there.
Mm-hmm.
To really flavor pretty much every aspect of this thing, which is the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The curry part, like the sauce, is the best part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if we had white rice and maybe salmon, it might actually be a really good curry.
Maybe. I don't know. Because I feel like tilapia and other whitefish tend to be a little bit more open to accepting other flavors. I feel like salmon, I've had some salmon where it was clearly not paired well with the flavors that it was paired with.
Mm. Okay.
Like I've had a strawberry mint glazed salmon, and it's just the sweetness and the mint was just too strong, and it overwhelmed the salmoniness.
I see.
But then you have like a miso soy glazed salmon where you've got more of that savory tone, which I guess is similar to what we have here.
I think it would work. Maybe.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to try.
I think it'd be worth a shot.
Super not traditional, but the point of this is to try them, and then from there you can do whatever you want.
Mm. Make it good for you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, another dish, another new couple of ingredients we get to try.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if our curry leaf substitute worked, but flavor-wise, it tastes good. It's got a good mix of flavors to it. Nothing in here feels like it doesn't belong. I'm definitely going to finish this up. It's going to be tasty.
Yeah. See you next time.
Definitely.